Oh, there we go. Hey, everyone. Welcome to a beautiful Wednesday. Got a little chilly again last night, so got me jacket on. So today I'm going to be working on some flint strikers that kind of look like that. So I'm going to be grabbing some files. So if you were watching the stream a couple of days ago, at the end of it I put in 3 files to anneal. And the reason why I annealed them is so I can grind down all the little teeth. So I already got a piece that I grind down all the teeth nice and smooth. So we're going to start with that piece. Now the reason why I grind down the files is because when I'm forging it, I don't want these teeth to fold over and get cold shuts. So that's why I grind them. So we get that heated up. So how's everyone doing today? Nice, nice. So I'm on top of YouTube. I'm doing Twitch as well. So I got the chats open. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you're catching this after the live, because I know this is not the perfect time for Americans and Canadians to watch this. If you are coming in afterwards and you like what you see, leave a comment, put a like, subscribe. I'm here pretty well every day except for the weekends. Start 1:30 Eastern time, and I try to forge and make stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Woo. So where I get my files, so these particular ones, the bigger ones, those came from my grandfather. I inherited a whack of well, that camera's too. A whack of hand tools. So that's where those came from. But I have a whole bucket full of files, and they have come from various places. So family, a good chunk of them came from family. I've got a stack of them that I got from a mechanic. He was just on like Facebook or Kijiji. I can't remember. It's been a while. I think it just Kijiji. And he was cleaning out his shop a little bit of all the old tools, so picked up a couple of them for really cheap. Some from farming auctions, and then some of them I originally have bought them new, and I've used them over the years, and they just don't cut anymore. Yeah, they just don't cut, so they get kind of thrown in the pile of ones that I'm going to forge with. Yeah, that's where I get them from. So the tongs I'm using today are the tongs I made yesterday during the live stream, the box tongs. I did take some time this morning and cleaned up the ends a little bit. I did wire wheel them a little bit so they feel a little bit nicer in the hands, but pretty well how they finished yesterday is how they are today. And today I'm just going to be using my 2-pound hammer. Not going to be whaling on this, so I think the 2-pounder will do. Now I want to make sure I get a really good heat on these guys while I'm forging. These are high carbon steel. So with high carbon steel, it's easier to forge when it's really hot. Also, you don't want to forge it when it gets too cold. Some of them will actually crack if you forge it in the too cold state. So a lot of the forging I'm going to do today is going to be at the higher yellow, kind of white color. Now, even though I nailed 3 files the other day, I'm going to just start on one first. I want to go through the whole process, so that's even heat treating it. So I want to go through the whole process, so I'm going to start with just one first. And then we're going to see where the time leads us and continue on from there. Now, depending on how thick your your file is this way, is going to depend on how much you grab for the handle. So in my case, I'm grabbing about 2 inches, and I'm doing half on, half off, setting the shoulder up. Then I'm coming back and making sure I flatten that out again. You don't want to go too hard going down this way before coming back this way, because you'll end up causing a fold in the steel. So we're getting heat on that, get it nice and heated. Also cleaning my anvil after every heat. I don't want to force the scale into my material. Keeping a clean anvil just leaves cleaner work at the end. I'm also going to be using my butcher wire brush to clean up some of that scale in between heats. And that I actually picked up, so my wire brush, I picked that up from my horse supply shop that I get my horseshoe nails from. They also have farrier tools, and this is one of the things they had. I believe I've also picked up a pair of tongs from them as well. And I know I've picked up a rasp or 2 from them as well, so they've been pretty good to me, so I keep on going back. The horseshoe nails that I use for my hooks all come from there. So we're just going to keep on working that shoulder. We're going to bring it down to about 3/4 or to the quarter thickness of the parent material. And after a couple of blows on the edge of the anvil, we're coming back in and we're flattening it back down. We're just going to keep on working that corner until we get where we want to be. My tongs are just catching a little bit, so I want to straighten that up before we go too far. And it's just those little wings that were on these box tongs that I did yesterday. They're just a little tight at the top. Camera's in my way. Okay. That should do a little better. What I'm talking about is just these uprights here. They're catching a little bit, so a little bit has to do as I formed these around this file before, while it was cold, like the file was cold. So as it's heating up, it's expanding. Again, keep your anvil clean. Now that we got the shoulder pretty well where we want it, flip you over to this camera. So we're going for about 1/4 of the thickness of the original parent material. Now we're going to draw out this back end. And this is going to form the handle. And we're going to try and keep it to the thickness of the parent material for now. Straighten up everything. We'll get an eye heat on that. Now when I'm trying to pick up old files, I'm trying to look for a touch mark on the file or a maker's mark. Normally, your old good files will have some kind of maker's mark just above the tang. Yeah, you're not going to see that. But anyways, I look for that. Normally, quality files will have a mark. A lot of your cheap Chinese-made ones will not. So I'm always looking for a mark. And if you can find ones that have the globe mark, which was made in Canada and eventually bought out by Nicholson, or a Nicholson touch mark, that's pretty good as well. If it's an old file, I have heard a rumor that Nicholson has gone to some case hardened files, and I haven't seen one yet, but I have read that someone has come and countered to that, so I don't know. I can't speak too well with that, but I have not experienced that with any of my Nicholson files. So we're just going to keep on drawing out the handle. I should clean the scale off this. There we go. Now, if I knew I was going to do a pile of these, like you're talking about more than a day's worth, I would probably actually do all this drawing out on my press. The reason why I don't like doing that is because this is high carbon steel, and because the dies from the press will pull the heat from that. It's quite easy to go too far or too cold and crack your steel. Yeah. Yeah, I actually ended up getting 2 blisters yesterday from making these tongs on my hammer hand. That is because, I know why that's because. I had a little bit too much of a death grip, so too hard holding the hammer yesterday when I was working it down. Also, I'm a little bit out of practice of the really hard hammering. A lot of my regular stock stuff is in the smaller size, so 1/4 inch, 3/8. So I'm not normally working steel down as hard as 3/4. Yeah, 3/4. So and you gotta think the difference between 1/4 inch and 3/4 when you're talking about square is 9 times. So but we'll get through it. So again, I'm just gonna work down that handle. Eventually I'm gonna taper this off. I'm just going to start doing the taper on the end now. Going to come in, straighten it up while I still have a little bit of heat in there. So how's chat doing today? I gotta go check to see if my Twitch stream is still doing nicely. Unfortunately, I only got 2 monitors, so it's funny how okay, well, looks okay. Says it's excellent. I don't know, is anyone on the Twitch stream? How's the video? And in that case, if anyone's on YouTube, how's the video over there? I keep on forgetting to clean my steel. Sorry about that. What temperature are we in here? Oh, 10 degrees. Not bad today. Nice sunny day, actually. A little bit chillier than the past 2 days, but still nice. It's above freezing, so I'm very happy about that. So now what I'm doing is a very nice slender taper all the way down. Clean up the handle a little bit. It's got a little thick in a couple of places, so I want to bring that down so it's a consistent thickness throughout the whole thing. Now I'm going to knock down the corners of the handle just to make it a little bit nicer to pick up and hold. I'm going to draw that taper out a little bit more on the tip so we get a little bit more of a point. And next time I'm going to curl that tip over. And I'm just trying to think of which way I need to turn it down. Okay, now with the bigger part of what I'll call the blade facing towards the anvil, we're just going to curl downwards, and then so it's on the same side. I switched the So it's on the same side as your thicker part of the file. It's going to be on the same side, because what we're going to do is we're going to curl that around back to it. But before we do that, I'm actually going to cut off this piece to the length I want. For that, we're going to use a hot cut party. And I better get a pair of tongs ready. Now I'm using a slightly thicker file than I did previously. So just a comparison. This is roughly the same size as the file I have in the forge right now, and this is what I did before. So it's a little bit thinner. Not by much though. And for the length of these, I know sometimes guys make them a little bit smaller than what I have actually here. And I think this is actually kind of a small one. What is my size on this? So this is 2.5 inches for the face of this. I like 2.5 to 3 inches. It gives you more surface for striking the flint, which means you have a better chance of actually getting really nice sparks off of it. So what I'm going to do is on my anvil, I'm going to mark 3 inches. And I'm going to use that as a guide for when I'm going to cut this. So I'm going to check on the heat. I think we're actually good heat right now. I'm going to pull it out. We're going to start cutting it. I'm just going to line it up with my mark. Give it a little tap on with my hammer so I know where to go. And then trying to keep it straight on the hot cut. I'm going to go almost all the way through this on the hot cut, but I'm going to leave a little bit still hanging there, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it with my second pair of tongs that just happened to fall on the floor, and I'm going to break it off there. That way I don't accidentally hit my hot cut with my hammer. Then I'm going to go quickly over to my vise. I'm going to just hit it with my grinder with a flap disc, just to take the burr off. And then this will go back into the forge. And I'm going to put it in so the handle is in the forge first. Put the hot cut away for a little bit. now we're going to start curling that handle over. We're going to get a nice heat on that. On this heat, I want actually a really, really good heat, just to make it a lot easier to bend over. Sorry, my propane tanks are getting a little low. I do have more propane, but just get a little bit more out of these guys. Right now, oh Nate, how you doing? We're doing flint strikers today. So this kind of guy, where you take the flint, you go spark, spark, spark. Well, it only took me 4 minutes to answer that. Well, I'm doing pretty good, I guess. So right now, we're just going to continue working that handle over. And I'm going to go in, straighten it out the best I can right now before I go back into, well, switch tongs. I'm going to go to a flat bit tongs. And I'm going to put the whole thing in the forge now, just so I can straighten everything up. And also it's going to get my touch bark, which is my maple leaf that is on my logo for Red Maple Forge. That one I made 7 years ago. Did a YouTube video on it. It's all fun. That one is getting a little tired, to say the least. So I am looking to get a new touch mark made. This time I'm actually going to have someone laser cut it. Well, laser etch it, or however you engrave it, I guess. I don't know what you call it. Just so I can get a little bit more detail out of that. I also plan on getting one with the full logo, so the anvil with maple leaf in it as well. So if anyone knows someone that does that, that's really good at it, let me know. And where's my coffee? Oh, there it is. Because yeah, I'm due for a new touch mark. So I got a little bit of kink in the body down here, so I'm just straightening that up. Now I'm going to put my touch mark on it. gonna do is I'm gonna put this in the forge again. I'm gonna shove it on this side. I wanna bring it back up to a good heat. I'm gonna wire brush it, and then I'm gonna actually set it aside to anneal. Well, not anneal, normalize, sorry, normalize. So I can heat treat that later. I am trying to get in the habit of putting stuff away when I'm not using it. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Keeping a clean shop is a little bit of my, yeah, I have a problem with that. I'm just getting ready with the other bottle of propane because I think I know what's going to happen soon. So yes, I do run my propane off of barbecue tanks. Sorry, my forage off of barbecue tanks. So I normally like to use 30-pound tanks, 2 of them at once. Unfortunately, my propane guy didn't have 2 30-pounders to exchange, so I'm kind of stuck with my 20-pounders right at this point in time. I'm going back later, probably tomorrow, to get my 30-pound tanks, so that's awesome. Yeah, I know some people run, you know, with a big tank outside. That would be nice, but where my shop is located, it's not feasible at this point in time. So I'm stuck using propane tanks. Now, why I don't have 100-pound tanks as opposed to using the 30 or 20-pound tanks, and that just happens to go with how far I have to go to get those 100-pound tanks. It is a 45-minute drive one way, the 100-pound tank filled, where with the 20 and 30-pound tanks, it's literally a 5-minute walk away. So, yeah. So with my tanks, I usually have, I usually try and keep 2 tanks full all the time, but because my supplier was out, I couldn't with the 30-pounders. So I'm running off the 20-pounders. I have 3 20-pound tanks and then 2 of the 30-pound tanks. And I find that I'm usually able to keep it relatively full where I'm not going to be rushing out to get more. Yep, so I'm cleaning this as best as I can with this brush right now. After I'm done all this, I will be wire wheeling them with my bench wire wheel, and then beeswax finish on them. Let's check how the other one is doing. Yeah, we're good to go on that. So I'm going to start this next one. It's going to be the same way as the other one. And I'm taking about an inch and a half. Edge of the anvil, half on, half off. Coming in again to flatten out everything. And right at this point in time, I'm really only concentrating on the shoulder. Everything else can get cleaned up afterwards. Yeah, I have looked into getting quite a few 100-pound tanks. Again, it's the problem of going all the way out there and then transporting them back. In all honesty, if I'm going through that much propane to a point where I really have to worry about it, it would be better off for me to get like a 500-pound tank out in my backyard. I already get propane for the house. It's just the distance between, it causes a problem. So I probably would invest in getting a big propane tank outside before 500-pound tanks. That's not fun to drag across muddy, snowy yard to my shop when this time of year. I'm even sinking in. I can't imagine what a 100-pound plus tank is going to do. I have actually looked at getting natural gas as well. But I know with natural gas, you do need to use a little bit more gas than propane, just because the amount of BTUs. So I'll have to change my forge over to be able to take the natural gas. Rolled them, yeah. Well, that would make my yard nice and smooth. Okay, I'm doing a tank switch. Everyone talk amongst yourselves. Okay, back at it. Well, how much propane do I use in a week? There are some weeks I don't use any propane. There's other weeks where I use a lot of propane. It's because my stuff changes day to day. It is too hard to really say how much propane. So if I do know if I'm running my propane full tilt for 8 hours, I will go through 40 pounds of propane. That's using the big forge. But there's very few times that I'll actually go all that time. So the nail hooks, they're a little different because they are using a little propane torch. So the nail hooks, I can actually run a whole week on a full 20-pound tank. And what I normally do, and why I have 3 20-pound tanks, is normally I'll keep one of my 20-pound tanks that are almost empty, and I'll use the torch on that. Because as well as doing the nail hooks with that, I will do like heat treating and stuff like that with that propane torch. So yes, I can go through a lot of propane. Now I will say my forge is not as efficient as it used to be. Back when I first got it, an 8-hour day normally was running me about 20 pounds. I really don't think of like efficiency with my propane like some people will do, because it's just a part of my business. And yeah. I know I've seen a lot of people, and I know a lot of people ask about that. And I really just don't think of it. It's better if I don't. But I have also, and a lot of this is going to depend on what I'm working on and how hot I'm running the forge. So like when I said that 8 hours of full forging, that's 8 hours of forging axes and hammers. So I have the forge usually hotter when I'm doing that, as opposed to when I'm doing the small stuff. I'll run that usually around 4 PSI, where with the hammers and axes, I'm usually about 10 PSI, 12 PSI. Again, I really just don't keep track of it. I keep track of my time more than I keep track of how much propane I use. Also, I will go through more propane in the winter time than I will in the summertime. Like the other one, I'm just drawing out the handle right now. No jig today. No. This is all eyeball, soapstone on the anvil for measurements kind of thing. This is one of these projects that little size differences don't make a difference. And also I don't do a lot of these. So I think last year I did 3 of them. But last year I only started doing them about maybe, I want to say September. So like not that many months I've been doing these for. Whenever I did that video about these last year, that's when I first started doing these. So no, there's no reason for a jig for this. I think a jig might actually slow me down a little bit more. So we're getting the 3-pounder out because I just want to move more steel faster. Yeah, they are pretty cool. The reason why I actually started making them is because, yes, at a medieval fair, someone asked me, do you make them? And I'm like, oh no, I kind of don't. And then I'm like, I should make those. And yeah, ever since I've made them, I sell at least one every show now that I go to. At least one. And that's even the 4-hour at my local farmer's market kind of thing. I'll sell at least one. So they're well worth it. The only downside is I have to keep on bringing flint in every time I make these. And I'm trying a new supplier for them to see how they are, because wasn't quite happy with the stuff I got last year. So I do have some new flint on order. Fortunately, it wasn't here today. Got some good Georgia flint apparently coming. So we'll see. Flint makes the type of flint makes a huge difference. Yeah, I don't know enough about rocks and stuff to really know it, but basically, based on the small little research I have done, some of the best flint is actually Georgian flint. I hope I got that right. Anyways, from the States, they have a good bunch of striking flint. Now, I'm not saying that other countries don't and stuff like that, but that's the stuff I'm going to be trying now. The previous stuff I got last year was from the UK, and it did what it needed to do, but I think it can do better. Now, with like your traditional flint and steel, you're not going to get the crazy sparks that you do with the new day like strike-in that you buy from like your local camping store or something like that. The man-made strike-in things, they spark way more than you will get off of steel and flint. So normally with steel and flint, you're gonna have to also use char cloth to actually hold your spark. And charred cloth is just basically a natural material cloth like cotton that has been charred like you would with charcoal. And then that catches the amber very quick, very easy, or I should say it catches the spark and holds the amber very easy, or easier. And yeah, you can go down a rabbit hole of YouTube videos and Google about this flint and steel. I did go down a little bit of a rabbit hole and said, well, I don't need to know that much information about it just to make them. So. So with the handle, like the other one, I'm working it down to about 1/4 of the thickness of the parent steel. So like in that kind of section there. Keeping this way to the same thickness. So I just got a little bit of cleanup to do. I have some spots where it's got thicker than the parent material, so I'm just knocking that down. Gonna come in, knock my corners off, just to make it a little bit easier to hold. I am gonna hit the tip a little bit more to get a little bit more tighter taper on the tip. And then after I get this one finished up, I'm gonna actually go back and heat treat the first one that I did, as well as heat treat this one. And again, to start to curl, big side of the blade down, curl down with it. And that way, when we fold that over, that curl is up. And when I'm hitting it over the horn of the anvil, I'm actually not hitting it where the anvil or the horn is. So I'm actually going a little bit outside. I'm not going straight down on the horn. Oh, I was supposed to cut this off. Oh, this is why I'm, okay, I gotta cut this off, I forgot. It's drop forged now. Sorry, I'm gonna cut this off before I start forming out the handle. So we'll get the hot cut going. And I'm going to do 3 inches again, so I'm just going to double check my soapstone mark. I kind of rubbed it off on the corner of the anvil there. And like the first one, I'm not going to cut this all the way through with the hot cut. I'm going to go most of the way. And then break it off with the other pair of tongs. Now I'm just going to take a grinder to the tip that I just cut off just to smooth it out a little bit and get rid of that little burr that's on there. And now we're going to go back to the handle. So we're going to be done with the box tongs for now, so we'll do a little cleanup. Hot cut out of the way. Actually, I lied. I'm going to use the box tongs. So we're going to finish off the handle. Straighten everything up. I'm going to heat it up again so I can do my touch mark. Straighten up everything. I'm going to get a heat on this so I can brush it off a little bit, and then I'm going to let that normalize. Okay, now I'm going to let that normalize beside the forge. And now I'm going to turn down the forge because I'm getting ready to do a heat treat. We're also going to lower the oxygen going in. Now this is the first one I did. I'm going to put that in the forge so what I'm calling the blade part of it gets heated up. And I'm going to bring my bucket of water over. And also my grinding stone. Now I don't know how well the colors are going to show up on this camera, but after quenching, I'm going to pull a temper to the tip of it, and the color I'm looking for is a very light yellow straw color. So I'm just letting the tip of that. Everything is gray. Yeah, well, yeah, it is. Not yet. You gotta wait. Or you're not seeing a picture at all. I got some browns. What's gray? Is the stream still on? You're making me worry. It looks like Twitch is not really happy. Oh, gray can, gray. Yeah. There is a lot of gray. Apparently my Twitch stream is not too happy. Floor is gray. Yeah. I will give you that. So we're bringing it up to a heat. So critical temperature. So if you don't know what that is, that means it loses its stickiness to a magnet. So what I'm doing is I'm just waiting until that magnet wants to pull again towards that. And I'm going to quench the tip of this, or the long side that's going to be the striking part. And I know you're not going to see this, but when I pull it out, you'll see how far I went in. So I went in about that far, about halfway. Now I'm going to actually take the grinding stone a little bit, and I'm going to clean up one side of it. so I can actually see those colors come in. And when I see a straw color come in, I'm going to actually quench it again, clean off the other side, and I'm going to be looking for a yellow straw color to come down. And then I'm going to quench that edge again, and I'm only quenching about halfway down. And I'm going to continue to longer see tempered colors coming down. And why I'm doing this to a yellow straw color is I want to get this as hard as I possibly can, but not so hard that it actually will break. And yes, the first one I've ever done of these, I didn't temper it afterwards, and it did crack when I put it on my anvil because it cooled down too quick on the anvil. So I do a straw yellow. I find that's enough to leave it hard enough that it will still actually get a spark. And I know you're not going to see that, sorry. So I'm going to continue doing that until I have no more heat left in that blade. And then I'm just going to come in and slowly quench the whole thing. And then what I'm going to do is I'm coming over to the vise, because what I want is I want a nice, smooth, flat surface to spark with. So we're going to be getting a file out to actually do it. And while I'm doing that, I'll get the other one in the forge to heat up, so I can do the heat treating on that. And with a file, I'm just going over the front surface of it. And I want this to be as smooth as I possibly can have it. And then I realized that this is actually hardened, so I can't do this. Oh, yeah. I just had a moment. Okay, I'm gonna take a grinder. Normally I do this with my belt grinder upstairs. So I'm like, oh, I'll use hand tools. I could do it with a file, but I just harden it more than the file is. So that was 40 grit. And now I'm going to go to a worn down 120 grit. Yeah, worn down 120 grit, just to smooth this off as much as I can. Now, if you don't have an angle grinder, you can just use sandpaper. Now with these guys, I have found that 120 grit is basically a really good temperature, grit to actually sand these to. If you go too high of a grit, they will just slide off of the flint and not actually grab the flint. This actually is going to be taking little pieces of flint off when you strike it. So, yeah. Whew. So that's the finished rough piece. Like I said, these guys are going to get a wire wheel. And these guys get a linseed oil finish as opposed to a beeswax finish. And the reason for that is it's easier for the end user to maintain if I do the linseed oil as opposed to the beeswax. So yeah, these just get wire wheeled and then a little bit of oil on them. So that's one done. So I heat treat the next one. You're going to be doing the exact same process. Waiting until that end starts grabbing a magnet. And this is just a magnet on a hook. You can buy them many stores. I think I picked this up from Princess Auto. Harbor Freight to American people. And we're just going to wait until it grabs the magnet. And again, we're just going to quench the edge of it. Clean it off so you can get down to bare steel so you can see what's going on. Quench the tip again. Clean the opposite side. And the reason why I rotate what side I'm doing with the taper is so that the taper I pulled last time doesn't confuse me with the taper I'm trying to pull this time. And like I said, I'm just going to keep doing this until I lose all that heat from the body. And I'm using an old grinding stone, but you can use sandpaper, basically anything that can take the scale off of this and go down to bare steel. So you can see that temper coming, those colors coming down. So now I know I already got all the heat out of the body. I'm just waiting for some of that heat to come out of that handle, because I don't want to actually harden the handle and make it brittle. And then like the other one, I'm just going to go over to my vise And I'm just going to ground that flat. And if you did nice forging, this won't take you that long. And that's all it needs. So now that's the second one. So yeah, that's 2 done. That's 2 of them done. Well, the forging is done out of them. So right at this point in time, I think that's the show. I think that's the show today. My coffee is running low. Where did my coffee go? So that's the show today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope I taught you something or at least entertained you. So you guys take it easy, and I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. Thanks for coming out.